because you can't risk Fiend's gripping a false target. You have to change your target. You have to look for a hero, possibly like that Bat Rider. But that's where the Shadow Demon Pudge is going to be very, very obnoxious for you, especially once that Pudge is able to get up the shard, which is the big reason why that hero was even pickable in the first place, all the way back when, maybe 3-4 months. At the same time, though, Pango has proven himself to be a very, very annoying hero for PLs to deal with. Shield Crash just does so much damage. If this PL ever gets stuck, chained up, especially before he has one of his big tanky items, he is going to die to this Pango pretty much off cooldown. At the same time, Quap, while isn't one of the best heroes versus PL, in those early stages when this PL is going to be most vulnerable, that is going to be the hero that needs to make those early rotations to try and slow down this PL as much as possible, because this PL, as of right now, once you get past that 25-minute mark, is going to be uncontested. All these heroes don't really match up very well versus each other. Of course, Monkey King is interesting because you always get to know which one is real because you have that Jingu stack hovering over him. Aside from that, though, they should really struggle versus this hero.
Yeah, Hokori really taking some time to think about some of these final bans. Looked like initially they were sort of leaning towards that offlane position with the ban on the Broodmother, but secondary decision is not quite as easy. They do settle on the Sand King in the end, while Fúria Jovem really trying to get in onto RDO's heroes. The Klink's taken away that Spectre. A hero we see RDO play so often, they're just not going to let him even try it, so instead they go for the Troll, which at least slightly alleviates some of those concerns I was mentioning earlier on, with their lineup maybe not being the most durable. The Troll Warlord, I wouldn't say fixes that, but it's at least not quite as squishy as some of the other heroes. So you do have some durability and damage there. It's just a matter of how well does that stack up against the PL later in the game.
Yeah, and it is going to be the question where if you can find the real PL, massive problem for him. If the troll can stick onto him, usually when we see trolls finally decide to win their matchup, it's whenever they get that basher. If you get BKB, Battle Fury, basher on this troll, the PL has to run. You have to kite it out. Of course, PL is very good at kiting a lot of safe laners, but that's just where it's going to be paramount for Hokori to start the fight on the right foot. If they can get onto the real one, it's pretty much lights out for him at that point. It's going to be a runaway fest where everybody else is also going to get melted by that troll warlord pretty much in succession. It's a little bit risky because you are picking troll into both Batrider and Shadow Demon. Those heroes are typically very adept at kiting you, especially because you don't have the best turn rate. So that napalm can be very obnoxious, but it is going to be a safe laner that once you start sinking your claws into him, this PL cannot fight you in a one-on-one.
So just going to be a matter of whether Hokori can sort of stick on the Phantom Lancer. So you did mention earlier on, you've got sort of tricks up your sleeve. The Monkey King there, the Pangolier as well, can sort of help break through the illusions. So it's not like this is a unsort of doable task for the Hokori side. It's just going to come down to how well they can sort of manage, how well they can execute, and whether they can really keep that PL in front of them for an extended amount of time. Meanwhile, for Fúria Jovem, still one last pick to work with here. Hokori, we're assuming this was going to be their offlane hero, and honestly, that feels like a safe assumption. I don't really think you move the SD or the Pudge in this scenario, so maybe you can get an offlaner that provides you a little bit of backup just in case that PL gets into trouble, or I don't know, do you take your chances, maybe look for someone a bit more damage-oriented just so that you're not relying exclusively on the PL to lay the hits in as a little bit more, a little bit more in the way of sort of damage with the Void Spirit getting picked up, and now that also deals with the issue we were talking about with the Bad Rider's lane. The Void will presumably go mid here, and Heiko will be taking the Bad Rider.
Yeah, and it is interesting because they do feel comfortable enough to put King RD now what is going to be this 4-position Pudge, so I am interested to see how that's going to turn out. I actually like it a lot playing versus this Bane troll lane, just because, of course, you're not going to be able to give too much support to your Bat Rider if those trades do start going down, but you could reposition both these heroes, and you've got a lot of stick charges to work with. Both Troll and Bane generate a lot of spells, so even though they can use a lot of those spells to win the fights, you're going to have a little bit more mana naturally to play with, and that's exactly what Pudge enjoys doing. And with this Void Spirit, they finally have a hero that's going to be able to make plays on the map. Everyone else is going to struggle, I think, just a little bit. So now it's up to Sooths to hold down the fort for his team, as well as having not only a good hybrid damage hero, but is going to be a little bit more laneable versus the Queen of Pain. It's not going to be that bad. An analog, actually, I I don't think he's using the Arcana. This is the first time I've seen a club without Arcana in like a year.
It's kind of looks a little bit weird. It's still Queen of Pain. I mean, we can very obviously see that, but just a little out of the ordinary, especially among those pro players. If they didn't buy the Arcana themselves, somebody kind of gifted it to them, so very rare to not see it, but well, hopefully that doesn't really matter too much for Analog in terms of the actual play, but we'll see how this middle lane sort of works out for him. That Void Spirit going to sort of shoulder quite a bit of maybe early responsibility in this match. We talk about it anytime you're really sending any of those spirits to the middle lane. Rune control becomes that much more important, and the Void Spirit kind of falls into that sort of territory. He wants to be sort of full up on that bottle, on that mana, in order to make those rotations consistently. So we'll see how Analog does on that front. Right now, though, we need Analog to actually just get back into the server, as he does momentarily DC. But you can't let a Void Spirit, any spirit really in general, but the Void Spirit in particular, keep on finding those runes, keep on making those rotations, because if he builds up momentum early, it becomes quite a bit harder to sort of keep him in check later on down the line.
Yeah, and one of the heroes, of course, we talk about it all the time when we talk about those spirits, but you get those late timings, you get later timings than a lot of other heroes, but your 25 is insane, your 20 is insane, your Ags is insane. There's just so many aspects of your hero that you always are able to play around, and you become a terrifying monster on the field, something that the opponents have to be scared of. They have to kite you, they have to run you around, and then maybe they can take the fight. And that's definitely the ball field where maybe they can play towards when it comes to this PL, because their timing is naturally going to be a little bit later on in this game.
We'll see if they can sort of play into that window effectively, as we have King RD sort of making his way up onto the high ground. He is immediately going to get hit up, slowed by the whirling axes, and well, need a little bit more damage, one or two more hits. Okay, that's damage. The hook comes out. Widge really isn't going to care too much about that, though, as First Blood will go Hokori's way. So they strike first, and if you're King RD, I don't know. There were heroes up there, so you're not going to get up that ramp safely. The ward had already been dropped down, so they would have seen him coming even if they didn't have heroes directly on top. So kind of just a no-win situation for him. But
the first of many. The first of many.
Don't anticipate this Pudge being able to stay out of danger too much. He is really going to have to play that sacrificial sort of role, which maybe means he gets shifted a little bit away from the Shadow Demon, who's normally kind of the punching bag, or Duster in particular for this lineup. Really just has to be the one who loses out in a lot of situations for his team to find success. But now, okay, King RD getting some revenge. Gardic gets hooked in, and this should be a return kill. It goes into Sooth's hands, so see, King RD was just lulling them into a false sense of security. That's what that was. Respawns, comes back in, hits the hook to set up the kill, and they're even going to get the ward taken away there. So they suspected it wasn't just the heroes on the high ground who spotted out King RD. That suspicion proves correct, and what's going on with the lanes here right now? Widge is still bot. Are they really going to try to run a tri-lane here with just the Pango on the other side of the map, or is this just a maybe Widge waits, if there's an opening they go, otherwise he might just back off? There's the opening though.
Yeah.
They're going to jump in onto Heiko, and King RD already used that hook, so they even know that he's not going to be able to come in to help, and okay. Widge knows best, and now he'll TP himself top, and that was very nicely done on their part, able to get that kill. But now Widge TPs to the top lane, jumps to a tree. That tree immediately gets cut down, and he is going to take a pretty substantial amount of damage. But, came to lane with a full set of tangos. He should be just fine, and he was able to set up for both of Hokori's kills in the first couple of minutes.
And unfortunately, because Duster wanted to get these trades going with the Pangolier, you ended up nuking in that wave a little bit, so unfortunately they're going to have to put it back. But
whoa!
Soul kill? Okay.
That's unexpected, but Seuss just a little outplayed there. Analog, I mean, he doesn't even have a point in the blink. He just well and truly sort of caught his opponent by surprise, and that's kill number 3 for Hokori. That, I mean, I'm not really sure. That really shouldn't have happened from what we can see based on their abilities, but Nicely done. Analog's able to get the better of his opponent for now, and that's going to tip that lane a little bit in his favor early here.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate because you had the bottle a lot faster than this Queen of Pain. So if you went to those 2-minute runes, you should have been fine, but it's very unfortunate, and unfortunately got hit by that Shadow Strike again. Of course, Sooths is always going to try to dodge it out with the Dissimulate, but if you're not smart about when you use it, you are just going to end up tanking the damage anyway and wasting your spell on the creep waves. So this lane definitely gets rougher if you do have those small mechanical misplays, especially versus a player like Analog.
Yeah, Analog, it doesn't need a whole lot of space to be able to make something happen there, as we just saw, or didn't see, unfortunately. But back remains, he finds the kill. Meanwhile, over in the bottom lane, still sort of interested to see what King RD can put together here. In theory, this duo can sort of make some noise, get the hook in, slow him up a little bit with the rot. That would allow that Bat Rider to just sort of go to town with the Firefly, but that requires some coordination on the part of Fúria Jovem, and honestly requires Gardic, or I guess technically the Troll Warlord as well, but in most situations Gardic, to be already kind of far out of position, and that's not really happening right now. He is forward here, but that's only because he's setting up for RDO, sets things up with the Nightmare. RDO comes in with the Whirling Axes on both of those stances, and Hokori with another kill. This just isn't quite going the way that Fúria Jovem want in terms of their early aggression.
And it's so far disconnected from the creep waves that there isn't anything pushing into the Bat Rider. I think that Glyph will force the creeps to push just a little bit, but Gardic's trying to steal the wave back. It's a little bit of a battle there with the offlaner and the 5, but I think the Bane is able to get the aggro back under control. Might lose one creep, but RDO is off to a fantastic start in a lane that we already knew was going to be, I think, a little bit easier than what he's used to.
Already a favorable situation, even more favorable after the execution across these first couple of minutes. Meanwhile, up top, well, Mandy, I mean, he's doing incredibly well here. 24 last hits, Vitaly doing his best. Widge is sort of here to help out, but maybe not consistently enough to really put too much damage in onto that PL, so that is presumably going to be your sort of silver lining here if you're Fúria Jovem. At least your Phantom Lancer is still sort of having himself as strong a start as you really could in comparison to some of those other heroes, but now Duster, they're going to jump in onto him. They'll hit him up with that Swashbuckle into the Shield Crash, into the Boundless. That sets Vitaly up for the easy last hit. So Hokori, they just keep on striking really any time that they have the opportunity. 5 kills in 4.5 minutes, and now Mandy's alone under this tower. Things could get a little bit dicey for him. Boundless Strike is up in about 7 seconds, but does Vitaly have the mana? That's the question. He does have enough for both, but you're still diving a tier 1 tower, so you would have to very much catch Mandy off guard here, and with the Shadow Demon TPing back in, yeah, not really a massive opening for them, but they can find kills here and there. Maybe you're not slowing the PL down, but you're sort of poking at the edges as King RD, oh, gonna get taken down. RDO, meanwhile, nice root on it to Heiko, and this Bat Rider's not super tanky. He's slowed down. There's another root. Well, if RDO's getting the RNG like that, then yeah, he's definitely dead.
Now
so,
look at top.
Are you serious? They're still going. They got onto Mandy. They got onto Mandy. They didn't actually finish him off. Widge needed to hit with that Boundless, but now King RD, good hook, pulling Widge away. And Mandy actually turns around for the kill there with only the level 1 Spirit Lance, but it gets the job done, and now Vitaly, he's got to try and find some way out of here, but he doesn't have the mana to TP away, and they know he's still in the tree line. They're going to go looking for him. And they managed to get him. Mandy gets both of those. That, I mean, that was looking like a disaster with the PL getting run down. If that Boundless hits, we're talking about an entirely different scenario, but Boundless Strike does not connect. The PL lives. King RD TPs in to help, and all of a sudden that kind of swings in the other direction.
And it's really good from Mandy, juking around there, kiting to where the opponents thought he was, but they really had no clue. Unfortunately, this bottom lane, there's no saving it at this point. The Bat Rider is going to need to solely rely on these stacks that are going to be berated and pestered by this Monkey King and Bane, and not much you can do about it at this point, and the plays just keep coming.
Yeah, Heiko, well, maybe for a moment he could think about turning towards the camp there for the deny, but he just could not move. He was slowed up, taking too much damage, and the worst part about that is 2 things, really. Analog's the one to get the kill, and Analog steals pretty much the other half of that stacked camp that the Bat Rider had been going for in the first place. So it's just real rough here for Fúria Jovem. They were hoping those stacks could be sort of a escape route slash kind of recovery device for their Batrider. Instead, everything's sort of falling apart already. You see RDO, he's just going to push for the tower, and really, Echo TP's back in, but he's still not level 6. He's only level 4. Wow. That's a bit of a problem. King RD is going to come in, but they've scouted him out the whole way. Witch knows he's here. Tried for the hook, didn't get it. RDO, meanwhile, with the fervor stacks up, is just going to keep on pushing into this tower. If no one's going to stop him, well, he's just going to keep on going. And now Widge, he's going to make his jump in. There's going to be the Boundless hitting up onto 2. RDO going to have to slow them up with the Whirling Axis. Does manage to get that first hit, and that's going to be King RD taken down. It's just going very, very poorly for Fúria Jovem here so far. Not exactly unrecoverable by any means. There's no game that's unsalvageable at the 8-minute mark, but they've got their work cut out for them already, and a lot of it's going to come down to how much space can they make for the PL, and now, even more so than we were already saying, what will Sooths be doing? What plays can he make to get his team back even to a semblance of being even here?
Oh, in mid? Oh.
King RD needed the hook, goes for it now, pulls it back in, but Analog, yeah. That's the downside of that one. You waited an extra second or two for the hook, but that allows that blink to come back off cooldown. But now, the Void is going to be able... No, he's not. Wow. Analog just denies the DD rune directly in front of him, so... Fúria Jovem, I mean, they keep it out of their opponent's hands, technically speaking, but... they're not going to be able to grab that rune for themselves either, and... well, I mean, at least the Void Spirit is being a bit more aggressive, trying to make these plays, but... if you can't actually connect, if they can't actually find these kills, then I just feel like the PL isn't going to be left alone. If you're not the one sort of applying this pressure, Hokori are going to come looking for Mandy, or right now, they're looking for Heiko as they do jump in onto him. Vitali's going to pop the Rolling Thunder. This Batrider really doesn't have too many places to go, trying to juke through the tree line. The problem is the Firefly's cutting all those trees down. So Vitali and RDO just chase after him and they'll get the kill.
Yeah, and there is no space being made across the map. They had to get out of the bottom lane, but what are you coming into? You're a level 4 Batrider, just got level 5, TPing into a level 7 Pangolier. There's just another Batrider completely shut out of the game in its entirety. And while Witch hasn't been able to make a rotation towards the PL's jungle, because the PL might actually be able to solo kill him, he has been so obnoxious for every single other member. That's where this recovery mode... we're still waiting for it. We're still waiting to see how Heiko is actually able to get back in this game, as well as Sooths, who has just gotten his lane forced into him over and over again, has not been able to farm nearly as efficiently as Analog, and now, similar to the previous game, we see the clock coming to the top tower, just make sure that dies in a reasonable time. Doesn't matter if she doesn't find a kill, because she's just a little bit more mobile than anyone else in the game. It's not like any of this really matters.
Yep. Tier 1 will be taken, and I don't know, if you're Fúria Jovem, where is your immediate response going to come from? Talked about the Void Spirit presumably sort of being that guy, but I don't know. Zeus doesn't have a whole lot to work with. Maybe that Batrider can hit 6 in the next couple of minutes. They really do need that lasso to try and do much of anything here, so... well, Heiko's going to try to sort of build his way towards that, but while he's farming, Vitali and Widge going to make the jump in. Can't actually finish him off, though. They need a little bit more damage, and I'm not sure they have it. Vitali is thinking about the Rolling Thunder, but with King RD coming in, I don't know if they really want to fully commit for it, but okay, Vitali's going to make the move. Jumping in. Can they get the Batrider? As of right now, not able to finish it off, but Vitali's coming around for another pass. Good attempt from Heiko, just kind of keeping himself over that water line, but it's not going to be enough. The Firefly comes to an end, and he will fall, and now Vitali... okay, pulled back in by the hook. The Dismember's going to be there as well. Widge is desperately trying to help his teammate out, but good disruption going to sort of break up that play. Widge will now fall as Sooths comes in with the Dissimulate, and that Sonic Wave missed everything. Should still get a kill onto Duster there, so you're at least going to walk away with that, but if that Sonic Wave hits onto all three, at least 2 of them go down, and the Void Spirit basically has to run. But instead... 2-for-1 trade, Fúria Jovem, I think, are going to be very much okay with that, especially considering the PL is still taking that time to try and farm up.
Yeah, the only problem is that you look at the lane that he's trying to farm up in, there's a Battle Fury Troll already occupying his side of the map. RDO is incredibly farmed right now, and well, everybody's TP in mid. It's too late, though.
That was a very optimistic attempt at the lasso on his part. He will fall. King RD dead as well. They get Gardic. Now they're on to Widge, so they're able to blow up the 2 supports, at least, but not going to be able to get onto any of the actual core heroes. That ties it up at 2-2 in terms of that kill count, and Mandy got both of those kills again, I believe, so you are getting the money directly into his hands, but in terms of the overall value, it does feel like Hokori were able to sort of get the better of that one. And now, if you're the PL, it was a good move. Come mid, grab some kills, but now the fight's over. Yeah, get your ass back to the jungle and keep on farming.
Unfortunately, during all that, the troll was able to take a pretty massive stack, but this was his strongest timing. This is the immediate defusal blade. As soon as he picked it up from the base, he was able to TP mid, get 2 kills. That's not bad from Mandy, but it is going to be the next item and then the item after that. It's never just the Mantis style that you need to play around. It's always whether or not you can get your Sanjin Yasha, whether or not you get your heart, or whether or not you have to go for the shard Octarine build. Those are always the avenues that you might need to go down if you're PL, but they're very wide timings and timings that you almost feel like Hokori are readying themselves for, because right now Vitaly has a Maelstrom. He is going to make it impossible for Mandy to show up to a lot of these fights. He does so much magic damage, and that's where Fúria Jovem, they need to be so careful with how they pick their engagements, and that's where it goes back to Heiko and Suits.
They're able to scout out Widge there. That should be a relatively straightforward kill for Sooth. So nicely done on that front. You see the ping out though. Widge realizing, yeah, probably had vision there to actually spot out that movement. So they will try to get to work on dewarding that. But for now, honestly, that's a nice kill for the Void Spirit. Those are the kind of plays he needs to continue making, working his way towards the Yule Scepter as that first sort of major pickup. But now Vitaly's going in onto him. That is a very aggressive move. I don't think he realized there was this much backup as they miss it with the Sonic Wave, but I don't know if it's going to matter. Analog still hits him up. It was a nice play from Zeus to avoid a lot of that burst potential. Just can't avoid all of it. Now Duster's going to get taken down. Hook in, actually pulls Gardic into his Fiend's Grip, so King RD kind of initiated onto himself. Didn't have any way of knowing it until it was too late, but that's 3 dead now for Fúria Jovem, and Mandy's on the run, trying to get away. Silence comes in from the Orchid, but I'm not sure they can close the gap just yet. They don't want to dive the tier 2 tower, so they're going to back away, but that's 3 kills into the hands of Hokori, and RDO is now starting to get the fervor stacks up on this tier 1 tower mid.
And it's really fast decision-making coming in from the Bane, but here we go. Can they defend this tower? That's the real question. They already committed the lasso. Oh, Analog is brutal.
That is not for you, Zeus. That is for Analog, as he's able to grab that regen rune. But now, how willing are they to take this fight? No Sonic Wave up. Monkey King is, well, he is level 6, but he hasn't put a point up in the Wukong, so a couple of their sort of team fight abilities are either on cooldown or just not invested into in the first place. But Fúria Jovem aren't really willing to call that bluff. They push their opponents off the tier 1 tower, but once that tower is safe, realistically speaking, there was no reason for them to go any further forward. However, elsewhere on the map, we see Heiko getting himself jumped in on RDO. I mean, he doesn't really have a BKB or anything, but he just doesn't have to care. That Firefly damage is just not enough to really do anything to him. As they find that kill, and now Mandy, this is not a great spot. Can they actually find the real one? Well, it's easy when you can blow through about 99% of them in one go, and yeah, makes things a lot easier, as Mandy will be taken down, and that's just kind of the downside of trying to run the PL against this lineup. They burst through those illusions so quickly. There was really just nothing for the PL to do there. 2 cores dead on the Fúria Jovem side, and Zeus may want to be a little bit careful here as well. Vitaly's kind of, yeah, eyeing him up a little bit. Not going to entirely commit for it, but the reason why he's not committing is because his teammates are taking the tier 1 tower.
Yeah, and it is a very unfortunate situation because you don't have that space allowed to. This is the second game in a row where Mandy's teammates, they're just unable to make these space-creating plays, and the best part about Troll is you choose an objective, you will get an objective. So even though they aren't the best lineup at killing Roche, they will kill it very, very quickly. Just the virtue that Troll got a Possessed Mask, and he's able to get up all those Fervor stacks. Not even max level Fervor, it's only level 2, but it just doesn't matter. And any fight that the Troll shows up to, Mandy will not show up to. The PL has to continue to dodge out this Troll, at least for these early stages of the game. And that's where, can you lose all of your buildings before your PL can actually show up to a fight? That is the question that Fúria Jovem are asking here. Because right now, the Hokori are not going to leave your side of the map. They are not going to stop plowing down these objectives. And especially getting the glyph like that, they're going to force you back into your base on the high ground in just a few moments here.
And RDO... Okay, never mind. For a moment, he sort of stepped in to take... Actually, he will do it again. Okay. Takes the aggro away, so that cart survives on a sliver of HP, but it's going to make this push just that little bit more efficient as they're just tearing their way through it. Tier 2 tower is going to be taken down, and at this point... I mean, realistically speaking, you don't have to stop. You've got 2 lives up on the Troll Warlord. You have near complete control of this north side jungle, so if they wanted to try and threaten the high ground, there is no one on Fúria Jovem in an immediate position to defend that. Obviously, Hokori don't necessarily know that, but if they try to sort of push their way forward, multiple TPs would have to come through, but instead, Analog actually jumps mid. They're going to go in onto the Pangolier first, though, with that, oh man, with that lasso, but they just don't have the damage. King RD tried for it with the Dismember, but they just can't make it happen. King RD dead, Duster gone as well, and now Vitaly's just going to roll his way to another kill as Heiko falls, and now Seuss has got to try to get out of here. He has the Eul Scepter up in a few seconds, but the silence going to keep him in range. Can they actually lock him down, though? He has no Astral Step charges, but the Dissimulate is going to be there. And Analog, okay, the blinks forward. Widge comes in with the Boundless Strike, and Vitaly finishes the job with that Swashbuckle. So 4 dead. Everyone other than the PL gets taken down, and the PL only lives because he just wasn't really involved in the first place. He was just trying to farm up, but now... Can he really afford to? I mean, you don't have much of a choice, right? The PL's presence is not going to help out with the defense of this tower, but how much more time can they buy him with so much of this map sort of falling into their opponent's hands?
And I see it queued up. He's going for the Basher now on Troll, and once he gets that, then we are never going to see this Troll in the middle of these fights. We're going to see him play on those edges. He already has that Shard queued up. Thankfully, he was able to get that Mantis style, so he will not have to worry about the Orchid for the time being, but this just doesn't get easier for him. After the Shard, he's going to have to go for the Octarine, and it is just going to be whittling down your opponents as much as possible, but again...
Analog and Vitaly in again, trying to jump onto Duster first, get that disruption sort of out of the fight, and they haven't actually done so just yet, so the disruption does come through. King RD, however, is falling low over on the other side of the engagement, so both of those supports will be taken down. Mandy was at least able to jump into the back line, got himself a kill onto Gardic, but now he needs to make sure he gets out. He's looking for the TP home. Can they cancel? No, they can't. They have the silence, but no Boundless, nothing along the lines of a Eul Scepter, so Mandy's able to find himself a kill and get out of dodge, but you lose both of the supports on your own side, and Hokori... I mean, they may look to sort of group up once again. They're spending so much time on their opponent's side of the map right now.
Yeah, and I really don't know when Hokori are going to necessarily decide that high ground is their next objective. It could possibly be this next Aegis. I think this Aegis is more or less just giving RDO free range over the entire map. They could push the envelope if they wanted to, but they still have a lot of room to grow, especially on their Queen of Pain. Still waiting for her next big item. That's going to be the Kaya Sange. But, oh, poor Duster. If they see him, they're just going to immediately jump him with 3 heroes, and he's just going to die so quickly.
Yeah, well, yep, they see him. Analog jumps in, Silence comes in, but the lasso actually going to lock down the Queen of Pain, but the follow-up damage just isn't there. Duster's already dead. Heiko is going to be falling as well. There is a buyback from Duster, though, but by the time he could get into position, his teammates are already gone. RDO picks up 2 as both Heiko and Seuss will fall. King RD dies at the end there as Vitaly's able to sort of clean things up, and the best part about all of that, if you're Hokori, is the fact that Gardic, he dropped low, but he didn't fall. You get 3 kills, actually 4 kills in the buyback, and you didn't lose anything. They get the kills, they get the tower, now they can push the high ground pretty comfortably. Or at least attempt to. Those are relatively low death timers.
Yeah, it's still hard, but there's no glyph and they still have Aegis. They might back out, though they got what they wanted. The PL has to return to the base. They forced the PL out of this top area that just a few moments ago you saw RDO actually circling up, saying that this is where the PL is probably playing, but there is no way that they're going to get dislodged from this triangle anymore unless they leave on their own volition. This game is just a little bit too much, but man, Vitaly is good at Pango. That was such a sick roll. That landed on everyone. There's actually nothing they could do about it.
Yeah. I mean, we always talk about Vitaly, and I think the other one we really sort of get on is Sacred as well. When they're on these sort of more active heroes, technically speaking, that applies to the vast majority of offlane heroes, but those two in particular, you know, they're not really farming heroes. They're not really sort of passive players. They just love to go in. Like right now, Vitaly is going to keep Duster sort of out of the middle of the fight as the Sonic Wave will be deployed. Analog, though, does end up going down, but at this point, it really feels like this trade-off is going to work out for them, especially if they can finish off Mandy. But the PL is able to make his escape. His illusions actually finish off Vitaly in the middle of all of that. So, casualties for Fúria Jovem, but you get analog. That was worth a crazy amount of gold. Vitaly goes down as well, and you can see from the teamfight recap, even with the 3-for-2 numbers not favoring them, they get 3 times the gold compared to what their opponents bring in, and I'm assuming Suits is going to be safe here. Widge really doesn't have the damage or the lockdown to keep that fight going, but more of that is what you need for Fúria Jovem. They're able to sort of keep the most important of their cores alive and just get money into their hands. Really, that's the name of the game. Just try and draw this one out.
And more kills, more levels, more XP to now try and snowball your Void Spirit as much as possible. Was able to finish off a Kaya and has an Arcane Rune bottle. They'd love to get a play going. Oh, Widge. That is insane. And, okay, Vitaly cancels too. That's super quick decision making there from him.
Just that little tiny reaction from Widge. He's able to avoid really a 3-man gank. If they get in onto him, I mean, it's a Monkey King. It's a position 4 Monkey King at that. He's not getting away. You look at the itemization, there was nothing that was going to save him. So if you're Widge, you get out of there. That's about a 3-man rotation from Fúria Jovem that really doesn't do a whole lot directly, but the question is now, how do Hokori respond? Full 5-man smoke is going to see them pushing, I would assume, towards that east side jungle. I think that's where they have to guess that the Phantom Lancer's kind of hanging out right now, but it's not going to be the PL they run into, and it's actually not the east side jungle where they're maneuvering. They're making their way north, and they're really not going to find Suits right now. He's already kind of backing away. Ooh. Widge. Smoked pop. Smoke popped, excuse me. Ping comes out, so they suspect that he's here, and now, yeah, they're going to make their move, cutting down the tree. Monkey King will be finished off pretty quickly, and well, Fúria Jovem, okay, they're looking for more. They're in onto Vitaly with the Yule Scepter. Can they actually lock him down long enough? The Swashbuckler's going to get him away. That buys time for the Rolling Thunder. And Vitaly, he should be making his way out of this one, but Leo with the Phantom Rush was sort of giving chase, but not going to be enough. So Vitaly gets himself out, but if you're Fúria Jovem, you get the pick. You force Vitaly away, Rolling Thunder's on cooldown for a bit, and you have now created more space and bought more time.
Yep, and that's all they can ask for right now. The only issue is this Roshan feels like it's respawning just a little bit too soon. How strong can they get in the downtime? That is the big question that they're asking themselves. Leo has gone back for that heart. He's going to have it for this next big Roche fight. That is going to be the most important moment for them, because again, if Fúria Jovem can get an Aegis on their side, that is when this game is going to feel more or less blown wide open. That's where they have so much more time to work with, and they can actually just throw their bodies at this Queen of Pain and at this Pangolier and try to take them out early in these fights.
RDO just got hit up by the disruption, but okay. Thought that might be a moment where Fúria Jovem try to push in. Instead, they're going to back themselves away, very rightly suspecting that Hokori were rushing reinforcements over. So if they did try to take that fight, it was going to turn into a 5v5 pretty quickly, and without Mandy, 5v5 is not ever happening, really. If they take a fight without the Phantom Lancer, it is going to be, maybe not impossible, but unbelievably difficult for them to ever win that engagement. So we'll see what they can try. Maybe with smaller numbers, they can do some hit-and-run tactics here. As you see the push into the middle lane, this is an interesting maneuver. They're going in onto Gardic now as they hit him up with that Remnant, so maybe a quick kill here if they can finish it off. Gardic, though, not dead just yet. He is somehow still fighting his way through this, but King RD comes in for the kill. The tower will be taken down, but now the Sonic Wave will be deployed. They're in onto the Pudge, but honestly, I think King RD is the only kill they're going to get. They're trying to chase after the Void Spirit, but Suits, he's going to be able to give him the slip, gets up onto the high ground, and that goes very well for Fúria Jovem. 1-for-1 trade on the supports, but the tower does go down, and that is going to get a little bit more money into their hands. It bought time for Mandy to finish off the hard, and now, well, Roshan's back up in 10 seconds, and with a PL who's quite a bit tankier, maybe you can contest it. Maybe that can actually look for the pick off first, as they do exactly that. They're onto the Queen of Pain, but they need more damage and more lockdown. They don't have it. And now Wukong's command comes out, Boundless Strike connecting onto 2, and Mandy, he is just getting rooted to hell. He can't go anywhere. Good defensive disruption from Duster, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. The second that he comes up out of it, he's got to try and get himself away, and he did actually manage to get away initially with that doppelganger, but now they know which one's the real one. They're just going to keep on chasing. Somebody's got to try and help him as Heiko does jump in. Good flame break, but Boundless Strike is still there, stunning up Mandy, and eventually he does get run down. So, I mean, the heart was a good pickup in terms of keeping him alive throughout the vast majority of that fight. The problem is, quality of life, right? How long was he living compared to how long was he useful? He was running for his life throughout really the last half of that engagement.
Yep, and unfortunately, it plays back to the same hill where Furia Jovem threw away their game before, or Hokori push up just a little bit sooner, get the vision up there. You saw Duster place the sentry, trying to get control back, but they lose focus for just a few moments there, and that was a fight where they didn't have Rolling Thunder for another 25 seconds. I feel like there was definitely an opening for Furia Jovem, but it's just so important to actually get this control away from your opponents. You can't fight in this area without having the eye spot, and they keep making this mistake time and time again, and this game can only get harder from here on out. Every single death that happens to this PL is going to be objectives at this point. He's that important for this team's defense.
And LET, I mean, you would know far better than I would, really, for the PL. I mean, what's the game plan now? The durability of the heart really wasn't enough. You see him sort of queuing up the Scotty next, so I mean, that'll give him some more stats to work with, make him a little bit more dangerous in these fights, but is that really enough to go toe-to-toe with Hokori?
I really don't think so, honestly. I think right now you might need to swap up your strategy completely, trying to get that Octarine core as fast as you can. If you can get that Aether Lens, maybe you can kite out, be incredibly annoying to the backline, because the backline is very susceptible to PL. That's why they picked it in the first place. If they can whittle down the Monkey King and the Bane, then it's going to feel like that backline is very easy for them to shatter when that Void Spirit eventually goes in. But without this slow-paced team fight, if they can ever get on top of him with that root, you saw with RDO right there, as soon as he got a root onto the PL, he commits the ulti, and you're trapped. You can't do anything about it. And aside from the Mantis out, it's not like you're going to see Leo, or rather Mandy, go for a BKB. You don't have that secondary Dispel. I think he needs an Aether Lens, and somebody needs a Lotus Orb on his team. They need to find more ways to get him out of here, and they almost succeeded in getting him out in mid, but it's just not enough.
In terms of, I guess, defensive itemization, really, what are we looking at? King RD went for his own BKB, which, it's useful, but maybe not going to be sort of team fight saving. Meanwhile, for the Shadow Demon, really nothing. Duster's kind of broke. This is not a fun game for him. Speaking of not fun, Witch gonna get pulled back in by the lasso. They need to finish him off, though. They have to find this kill. They're just not going to get it, and Duster will be the one to fall. Okay, Duster gets a little bit of revenge there, as he will eventually find the kill onto Widge, but it costs him another teammate, as King RD will be taken down. Analog gets both, and well, now Furia Jovem, they've got to set up for a high ground defense. Buyback status is not great. Not one on the PL. Duster did have his. He'll use it there, and RDO, okay. A little bit too far forward there, but that is the Aegis, so he's coming back up. But his teammates need to be ready to jump in to defend him. Analog is going to try to make the push forward. Duster, though, actually put RDO under with the disruption, trying to make sure that they could keep him isolated. They'll now push him back with the flame break, but they need more damage. Mandy's going all in for it, though. They want that troll. They know that they have the opening, and they get the kill. And now if you're Hokori, it's time to go. It is time to leave. You have lost RDO. That's really your best frontline hero, so I mean, that cost him a buyback on Duster, but big kills going the other way. Furia Jovem hold the line. No damage. Well, no significant damage to their high ground.
Yeah, and it's a little bit crazy to even touch the tier 3 tower. You already committed the BKB and the ultimate to try and kill what you thought was the Phantom Lancer illusion, when it was actually just the Doppel illusion, just the tanky one, and you throw away your Aegis in a situation where I don't think that needed to happen at all. And this gives time for Mandy to actually finish up those items. And yeah, he's going for the chip play. He's got the Aether Lens now. Once he gets this Octarine core, it's going to be so much more difficult to actually find the fight towards him. The biggest thing for him now, though, is finding those levels. If he gets 25, this game gets incredibly complicated for Hokori to ever pin him down. But he needs a little bit more time here. Time that this Abyssal Blade on Troll might not allow him, but yeah, bottom.
Zeus is trying his best to get out, but the Nightmare is going to be there. The Fiend's Grip comes in as well, and oh no, Heiko. I mean, he tried, he TP's in, but he actually TP'd into the fight. Nice defensive hook, but the DOT, yeah, is going to force out the deny, but now King RD, is he going to make it back to the base? Okay, BKB comes in, so I'm still not 100% sold on the BKB purchase from your position 4 Pudge, but at least it keeps him safe that time around. But you still lose 2, and you lose 2 of your core heroes as well. It's Mandy staying alive, and technically speaking, at the end of the day, that is going to be the most important thing, but doesn't really mean that Sooths and Heiko can just sort of go running out there and getting themselves picked off either.
Yeah, and if they can redirect and focus back onto these buildings, that's the biggest thing right now for Hokori, as well as you got to be so careful if you're King RD. They had the ward scouting him walking into this tree line. They know he's in here, which will scout
And
him out in a second here.
they
Ooh.
should know that the BKB is not available either, so they're going to make their move, and yeah, that's unfortunate. King RD, you know, yeah, he is pinging it out that they have vision there. I was thinking maybe for a moment whether or not he would sort of suspect that that was the case, but he is going to make that assumption. He's kind of pinging maybe the wrong spot, but generally speaking, the thought process there will remain the same. They've got vision down in that bottom lane, and we'll see if they can do anything about it, but right now they're just kind of getting pushed back towards their base more and more, and well, at least they're still finding some items. That Phantom Lancer continues to build towards the Octarine. We see the Aghanim Scepter picked up on the Void Spirit, but this is just... really, it feels so delayed for the Void. You take a look at his net worth here, he's kind of far down there. It's nice that he's picked this up at all, but the Void Spirit really needed this quite a while back. But hey, you've got that Resonant Pulse upgrade. Maybe they can make something happen now with some silences of their own. They've been sort of falling prey to analog silence for quite a while in this match, and maybe if they can make the jump now, you take away some of that offensive firepower from the Queen of Pain.
Yeah, that would be ideal, but it still feels incredibly hard for them. I think Mandy, yeah, finished the Octarine core. Unfortunately, doesn't have anything to slot in right now. Actually holding onto the Quelling Blade for the entirety of this game. Does actually have the 6th slot here, but now he has an interesting choice to make. Does he want to go for the Butterfly, or does he want to go back for the Scotty? Both are really good options, especially because they force the Troll into a pretty rough position, but RDO has got the item that he needs here, and actually
Heiko,
he has
no!
the DD and the Blink Dagger.
Heiko tried to blink in, hoping for that play. He doesn't get it, but King RD hooks him back and then swallows him with the Aghanim Shard. So he's able to keep his teammate safe, at least for now, but he can't really do the same for Duster. So, we talked about Duster always sort of playing that sort of sacrificial lamb. He is going to lose his life once again. He's dead for a bit over a minute with no buyback available, but you get the Bat Rider back onto your own side, and it is worth noting he blinked across the river looking for the lasso, but didn't actually use it. So you weren't able to make that initiation happen, but now the lasso is available for any sort of potential defense. If Hokori actually looked to push in again, but at this point, even with the numbers advantage, I don't really think that they want to make their move. They honestly might just keep the waves pushed in and wait for the next Roche.
Yeah, they don't want to throw anything away at this point. They want to play for that third timing, something that they can't mess up anymore. We are getting to this point where Hokori, even though the net worth lead has steadily grown, they really aren't that far behind on the Fúria Jovem side. It's just how they find their engagements. If Heiko can actually find something 0-12 at 8, he's really had a rough game, but all it takes is one lasso.
Which, oh boy. Oh, still caught. Oh, wow. That's some serious timing with the Lotus. And now, Heiko? Yeah, okay. He's going to get swallowed up by King RD, but King RD now has to get out himself. He's going to pop the BKB. Honestly, he could just go for the TP out here, but yeah, there we go. He'll look for it now in the tree line. So he is going to be able to get himself and his teammate away, and I think everybody is going to be making it out here. TP completed by the Bat Rider, and with the Haste Rune, Zeus is getting all the way back to the base as well.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job kiting around these heroes, not able to have really that guaranteed lockdown with the 4 Monkey. They don't have those guaranteed stuns if that roll isn't connecting, and King RD is just getting his teammate out time and time again. I feel bad for Heiko. He's really had one of the worst bat games I think I've seen in a while, but King RD's been there every single time with the hook trying to save his buddy.
And that is, I mean, we feel for him at a certain point, but it does sort of bear noting here on a day that has been full of less than ideal Bat Rider games. This well and truly is kind of the worst we've seen, which that's not entirely Heiko's fault. He's been put into a bit of a rough situation. You take the Bat Rider, the Queen of Pain gets picked up, so you have to swing him away from that mid position, but it's rough. There's really not so much he can do, even when you do see opportunities with that blink play. That Lotus was applied with 2-3 tenths of a second remaining, so you finally feel like, I've got it, we've made the play, we catch him by surprise, and then no, that Lotus Orb comes out at the last second and you need to be bailed out by your own supports.
Yeah, and small little pause there, but as we get later on into this game, it's really difficult to tell who is actually going to gain the advantage going forward. There are still some very big items being completed on the Hokori side, but unfortunately, Furia Jovem, they're sitting right outside of their strongest ticks when it comes to their XP. This PL is 2 levels still away from his 25, as well as the Void Spirit really sitting far in. Okay, Suits on Vitali.
Can they do this? They get
Nice
the
hook.
hook down. The Dismember is there. The Sonic Wave, I mean, it hits Mandy, but he doesn't really care about that. He's healing up immediately. So they've got the pick off onto Vitali. Now they're looking for a little bit more. They throw down that Disruption onto Widge. Okay. 2 kills. Control the pit. 30 seconds still for Roche to actually respawn, though, so that Roche control is maybe not quite as valuable as it would be about a half a minute later, but now Hokori have to fall back. Their heroes aren't going to be respawning in time, so Furia Jovem have about 30 seconds before it respawns, and then another 30 before some of those heroes respawn. Realistically speaking, they could try for it, but they need to actually scout out that it's respawning first, which is still going to be a few seconds away, but with everyone backing off from the pit, they might lose a little bit of time here before they actually realize what's happening.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate they lose so many heroes, but the timing is just in Hokori's favor. It just is very unfortunate. It's an Aghanim Scepter in the pit. I think that actually pretty heavily favors Furia Jovem. They can give that over to, let's say, the Bat Rider or the PL. Both of his are very strong. Even the Shadow Demon, that would completely save Duster's game here, but 10 seconds on both the Monkey King and the Pango. They're not going to give this up for free.
Feels like the window is kind of passed a little bit. They're going to give it a go, but what are we looking at Sonic Wave-wise? Not up for 40 seconds, but Analog's jumping in anyway. They get the Abyssal Stun, but the Force Staff actually pushes the Void Spirit away, and now RDO is going to get pushed back by the Illusions. That does stop the Roche attempt, but doesn't exactly give Hokori control of the area. Furia Jovem are still sort of hanging out, and they're not going to give this up now without a fight. Both sides realizing this Roche could very well determine maybe not the direct outcome of the game. We might have 1 or 2 more fights after that, but it's certainly going to give one team a hell of a lot of momentum. We'll see who makes that first move. Widge is just going to stay up on that tree, waiting to see who comes in. And you see Seuss, I mean, he's throwing those out to sort of block the entryway, but if he's just a little bit further forward, he could catch Widge. Speaking of catching, though, there's going to be the jump. Duster's going to get hit up, taken down right away. Buyback is available, though, for the Shadow Demon, so he could get back in if his team needs him. And we'll see how this goes. Spirit Lance going to get thrown out. It was reflected, but reflected Spirit Lance really not going to matter too much. RDO, though, he's going to push his way into the pit. If he gets the fervor stacks up here, he could take this fairly quickly, so there needs to be a response from the Fury Jovem side. The problem is, and they've lost Seuss. He's dead. Now the Abyssal Blade is going to lock down King RD. Seuss, though, will buy back, TPing onto the outpost. Can he get here in time? He is going to be able to get in, but by the time he does, Heiko's very low on HP. Duster's fallen a second time. King RD now dead as well. But they're trying to go in onto the Monkey King of all things with those illusions. They're not going to be able to find that kill, while Suits, he's been completely isolated. He needs help here. He's got a couple of stacks, or charges rather, on the Astral Step, but he didn't actually get the chance to use them, and now it's all just falling apart. Mandy is almost by himself. Good play from Heiko, though, pulling RDO away. That's going to cost him his own life, but if it gets Mandy out, maybe it'll be worth it. But now the Nightmare comes through. They've locked down the PL. They're going to hit him with the silence as well, removed immediately by the Manta, but in this 1v5, I really don't know if Mandy can hold the line here. He's just getting stunned up, rooted in place, and he is eventually going to fall, and at this point, well, Hokori, they can take Roche on, and honestly, they could probably push up onto the high ground off the back of this Roche as well. Those buybacks are basically non-existent from Furia Jovem.
And if only they knew that it was only the Pudge and the Bat Rider, they would probably just go to end the game straight up, but they're still going to look for this PL's buyback, and when it doesn't come, I can only imagine you're going to hear the screams from Furia Jovem. There's not much they can do about it. Losing their Void Spirit like that as well, they just couldn't find the fight that they wanted. They found the target that they needed to on Hokori, and once they stuck on you, they never let you go. You weren't able to play the much slower team fight that you need to, and if anybody shows on these buildings, they have to be so cautious. RDO is just ready to pounce.
He wants in. He's got the Swift Blink and the Abyssal, so if he reaches you, you are very, maybe not guaranteed to die, but about as close as possible. So Furia Jovem just sort of sit back and try to wait, but at this point, as you mentioned, they realize that PL's not buying back. He may not have a buyback available, but with this kind of window, 15 seconds to the Void Spirit, 25 to the PL, do you go for the tier 4s? It looks like the answer is going to be no. Hokori, with a chance to take the 2-0 sweep here, they're not going to get too greedy. They'll be a bit more methodical, rotating their way top instead. And, well, probably the smarter play from them. I don't know if Fúria Jovem could have held them off if they'd have gone for the win, but you eliminate any sort of risk entirely if you just take the second lane of racks and back off, although they're not actually going to get the entirety of that top lane. Melee racks will still stand, so there's a little bonus if you're Fúria Jovem. You have all your heroes back in now, so you're going to have a second attempt at this fight, but this is going to be the one. If they can't win this team fight, it's got to be over.
Yeah, and the smoke, they're looking for the Void Spirit, either the Void Spirit, the Pudge, or the SD. It's just the lead into the big team fight here. He's looking.
RDO's going to jump in, and there's Duster. He's blown up immediately. No buyback available. Now they're in onto the Void Spirit as well, and they're actually just bashing him away. Good play from King RD. Beats his teammate, but now there's going to be the lasso. They've actually pulled Widge, so if they can get the Monkey King here, well, that's a big if, especially with Analog coming in, throwing down that Sonic Wave. Widge does fall. And, well, Hokori are actually falling back here. They're not really too interested in dealing with the sort of full strength of the Fúria Jovem lineup. They did get that melee racks top, though, so that is now 2 full lanes of racks that they have taken. But, I don't know. Fúria Jovem, they're still fighting. Really, you've got to give them credit for that, but fighting for what? What is now their sort of updated win condition? What can they now rely on to try and truly take this next team fight in their favor?
Yeah, and with everything coming towards this bottom lane, thankfully their glyph will be able to refresh before this game is actually going to be over, but we still have so much space to grow for everyone. The Kali is looking for his luxury items. The Quap is looking for her luxury items. There's a full BKB now on Gardic. This grip is not going to get canceled unless you trade it out with a Dismember, but you're just missing so many things that you just need to play in this lineup, like an Aether Lens on the Shadow Demon, or a BKB or a Lincoln Sphere on the Void Spirit, and we're almost at 25 Void Spear. Once he gets 25, it becomes so difficult to play. Same with the Phantom Lancer, but I think Hokori, they're going to strike right before those timings hit, and that's the best case scenario for them to try and end this game. That's where there's actually a lot of power that Fúria Jovem still have in their lineup, but I don't know if they're going to hit these timings before this game is more or less over.
So, yeah, I asked earlier, you know, they're still carrying on, but what exactly are they playing for? And you laid it out there. They have the opportunity. Not anything even remotely close to a guarantee, but the power spike could come and it could be enough. So maybe they can continue to fight this one out. The PL is so close to that 25, but now RDO is going to push his way in. That Eul Scepter will be reflected, and, well, the fight is going to break out here. Vitaly is pushing his way forward, just trying to be disruptive on the backline. Widge now comes in with a Wukongs that really doesn't catch much of anything, but is at least going to keep these heroes away from their own racks, which means RDO is free to sort of push in for it. He gets the tier 3, but he's actually going to get pulled back by the lasso. His Aegis is going to be popped, but can they get him a second time? That's going to be the question. Not with that Void Spirit getting hit up by the grip. They need to be able to get him back to the fountain, and they will be able to do so. Okay, holding for now, but they're losing the racks. The melee's already gone down. The range will be finished off as well. Mandy is able to get in there for the kill on to Gardic, but they need so much more. They really need to take RDO out of the equation here, but they just can't do it. He's so damn tanky. He's just dishing out too much damage for them to deal with. And Mandy, he's very neatly taken down, bashed up, finished off. He does buy back immediately, though, as they see, really, this is going to be their best shot. If they can't win it here, they're not really going to be able to do much of anything, but I'm not really sure what they can catch right now. They're getting it onto Widge at least, so the Monkey King is going to get sort of pulled back, but in terms of the more valuable cores, your Queen of Pain has already left. RDO has very well cleared out of that area, and they got what they wanted. May have cost them a little bit more than they anticipated, but the Mega Creeps have now been picked up.
Yeah, and the unfortunate situation now is RDO has 8,000 gold on top of that, so we can definitely see him slotting out of Boots or his Battle Fury. There's just so much time in the world for him, as well as if he finds anyone, they are just going to get taken out. And, oh, do they get Suits on this wave? If he gets him right here.
Blinks in, Abyssal's there. Can he get the roots?
Okay.
No.
Getting cut off, though. Look at Analog.
Analog wants it, blinking forward. He's going to get the silence down. The Void already used the Eul Scepter. He's dead. And he's dead with no buyback. That is backbreaking. Fúria Jovem, I don't think that they can really pull off this defense without that Void. So really, what can they do here? It's not even a matter of time. It's 1 minute on the cooldown, but he's still nearly 1,000 gold short. So, Hokori, I'm not really sure they realize that that's the situation their opponents are in, but they've got Megas pushing in everywhere. So, you got to assume their path is going to lead them into that base sooner rather than later. And once they see the Void Spirit isn't coming back up, that may just be their sort of the green light to push all the way in and maybe just finish it off.
Yeah, these heroes are just going to TP in on that bottom outpost, and then we're going to most likely see the game really accelerate here. Yep, everybody is coming in. It's probably the last roll of the game. If Vitaly finds anyone here, if he can stop this save from coming down, then the hammer is going to be dropped on the Dire Ancient, as well as Ardio. It's just any Blink Abyssal forces one spell out.
Oh, blinks himself over the hook. This is a little bit awkward, as really nothing much happens there initially, but if you look at Hokori, I mean, they're just kind of fishing at this point, looking for this kind of casual initiation. If they find it, great. If they don't, we just back off. We try it again in just a few more moments, and there it is. Vitaly jumping in, getting the stun down onto about 2 or 3. King RD already dead. He'll buy back immediately, but now it's all about defending Mandy. They have to try and keep this Phantom Lancer alive. He is going to be able to back off for now. Meanwhile, King RD actually got a nice hook onto Widge, pulling the Monkey King underneath the tier 4 towers, but there's no one else here to help him. The rest of the roster is actually going in after the kill onto Vitaly, which would certainly be a solid kill for them. And actually, I think they just got both. Widge and Vitaly will both go down, and now maybe a chance to regroup or a chance to push for more. Gardic is looking for the TP out, though, inside of his BKB. And King RD did have the Dismember. He just couldn't get into position in time. But that is a hold. King RD dies, buys back. They get 2 kills. It's not the most valuable cores in the world. You don't really get anywhere close to RDO, but you are still, oh my god, you are still alive. And now that is a Rapier on Mandy.
Yep, it's the Desperation Rapier, but it'll definitely work out for you, and you will actually able to kill a lot of these heroes now. If you get some of those disables, if they stick around for too long, then that's going to be the game. At the same time, you lose this Rapier, your base is going to die before you can blink, and there's nothing you can do about it. I think, unfortunately, both Vitaly and Widge getting a little bit too far forward. You see their items right now. If you had BKB on honestly either of them, or if you had a few more defensive items on the Pango, they'd be able to walk out of a lot of these situations. But when they go down, their teammates have to wait for them, and I'm curious to see what RDO will actually go for. It's actually just going to be a full Mjolnir, finish up on the Troll, still dealing with those illusions, just trying to do whatever he can, but we have got those 25s now on Fúria Jovem. Very, very important, very key. Of course, they're still playing into Megas, so it is a hassle to play the game going forward here, but here's the smoke up.
What can they get? Heiko blinking forward, not going to spot anyone initially, but now they have vision on RDO. Not able to get in there. Mandy, meanwhile, sort of hanging out to the south. Widge, though, is keeping tabs on him, so they have the vision. And if they didn't know before about this Rapier, they sure as hell know now with that scouting mission done. But this is always going to be the problem if you're Fúria Jovem. You're going up against those Megas. So they push out, they go for the smoke, they don't find anything. Now you can't stay out there. Everyone has to fall back to defend this base.
Yeah, they have to go back, they have to reset, they have to look at their lineup, and that's where the immediate smoke up, I think, came out. Or is that just Ninja Gear? I think it might have been a smoke up coming from Hokori, but they still are struggling to find those blink initiations, even though it's fantastic from Ardio. When he is able to get those blink abyssal connects, you not only need that, you need to get more coming from your allies. You need to find not only whoever gets abyssal, but whoever's behind them and whoever's behind them. It's just the double defensive tools coming out from Fúria Jovem that have really kept them in this game as long as they have.
And, well, I mean, they have life here, really, or some semblance of it. They've got defensive capabilities, they've got level 25 talents up on heroes that very desperately needed it, and as long as the Rapier is still in Mandy's hands, there will be hope for this Fúria Jovem lineup. Maybe not a lot of it, but it is going to be there, and it's down to Hokori now to make the play to finish this off, but that's certainly going to help. They push into the Roche Pit, they'll get the Aegis into the hands of the Troll Warlord. Let's see, Vitaly grabbed himself the Refresher Shard, he'll pick up a cheese as well, and I think, was it the Queen of Pain who grabbed the Ag Synth there? I believe that was the case. So If you're Hokori, I mean, relative to your opponent, this is about as strong as I think you're going to be. If this game goes on any longer, then we start talking about 60 minutes, then we start talking about the next tier of neutrals. So maybe a bit of a timer here. If you don't get it done in the next 10 minutes, those tier 5s can open up all sorts of unexpected scenarios. We'll put it that way. So we'll see what they can do. They're going to try to push their way forward.
And I actually think it was the accent on the Bane.
Oops. King RD hooks an illusion, and Heiko hits it up with the lasso. He does have a refresher, though, so he should be okay. Meanwhile, you said the Bane, yeah, it does have the Aghanim's upgrade. So, yeah.
One of the worst. One of the worst in the game.
But I think everyone else had theirs, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, what does it even do at this point? Oh, yeah, God, no. That's not...
Game.
That is not great.
It does make it a 45-second CD or 55-second CD, which is pretty valuable, but here we go. How good are you versus Vegas?
RDO gonna get hit up here. He's taking a lot of damage. They actually hooked him back in, and they might just burn through the Aegis right now. Aegis is gone. Vitaly's rolling his way forward. Analog, though, he's trying to set up. Meanwhile, Widge jumping forward. He's going to try to set up for the Wukongs, but he's actually stunned up before he can channel it out, so he's not going to be able to get it off immediately. By the time he does drop it, he is dangerously low on HP, and he's actually dead. This is getting a little bit rough for the side of Hokori. The Glyph now coming out from Fúria Jovem as well, so their tier 4 towers are still holding. And RDO, I mean, he's running out of time. He's just getting hit up by the Dismember, but heals up, drops the ult. They're just going to charge their way in. King RD is taken down. Zeus will fall as well. The Void Spirit, though, will buy back, and all the while, Mandy, he's still going. He's still got the Rapier. They are just charging forward, looking for anything they can get. RDO on a sliver of HP. They will finally finish him off. Mandy gets the kill. And, I mean, they're holding. The tier 4s are taking damage, sure, but if Mandy can close out this fight, maybe they can make it happen. But he is so low on HP, he doesn't make it. He'll buy back. Can he get the Rapier? I don't think he picked it up in time. Analog actually grabbed it, and while they were doing all of that, the rest of the lineup went after the Ancient, and they do finish it off. So they were close. Ooh. I'll give them that. Fúria Jovem were very, very close to making that happen, but Hokori, I'm not even sure if we should really call that objective gaming. It's more like we had so many lives to throw at this one that we could take the fight and then also go for the objectives afterwards. But either way, they get the win, but 52.5 minutes. Fúria Jovem made them work for that win.
Yeah, and I think going forward, Hokori are really going to look at this Shadow Demon hero and think, this was really annoying 2 games in a row. We almost lost to it 2 games in a row, and then really rethink what they want to do versus it. Man, it's sad that, again, we see the Pudge lose, but they really did make him work for it for as long as they could. I think King RD, even though he is 1 in 16, you can't say that he had a fantastic game, but when it came down to it, he really held down the fort. He was saving his allies off cooldown. He was really doing a fantastic job, as well as almost seeing that glimpse into what a super high level Void Spirit can actually put out in addition to this PL. And they were on the back foot for such a long time. I think Hokori, they can also glean quite a lot from this because they played with the lead for so long and they still struggle to close it out. I think there is a lot to learn from this game. But before that 30-minute mark, Hokori, man, what a wash. Vitaly especially just played so well all throughout the entire game.
Yeah, so in terms of the early game success, replicate that as much as possible, but might need to make some adjustments with how they go for those high ground sort of scenarios. And once or twice we sort of saw they make a high ground push where just because you're winning doesn't mean your opponents are helpless, right? They push into the high ground, push into fights where Fúria Jovem are behind but not incapable of mounting a defense. So maybe just a little bit too confident, getting a little ahead of themselves, and that did help draw out that match quite a bit. But at the end of the day, if you're Hokori, you still get the win. It takes a while, but you get the win. They close out the 2-0 sweep, and there's a lot for them to be happy about in this first series.
Yeah, and you get your 2-0, you get to hold on to your points, and points versus one of the teams that I think I would definitely rank in the upper echelon, even though they are still more or less the new kids on the block to me. Of course, there are a lot of old faces, but they still have a lot to figure out, as well as they also have quite a few new players playing with them, especially at this tournament. So we'll see how a lot of these teams end up progressing, but still very nice 2-0 for Hokori.
Nice 2-0 for Hokori. That's going to have them sitting in the top half of the standings after this first day of action, which how much does that really count for? We're 1 day into the group stage, but hey, you get to claim that spot for any amount of time. That's going to be worth some bragging rights, if nothing else. So Hokori starts strong. We'll see what they come up with moving forward. They have a bit of a day off here as it pertains to tomorrow's schedule. We'll go through that one really right now. Only 3 series tomorrow. With the number of teams and the number of days, it gets a little wonky. So some days we'll have 4 series, some days we'll only have 3. Tomorrow is going to be one of those days where we'll only have the 3 series. It'll be Team versus Infinity, seeing both of those 2 teams for the first time. And then we got a couple of 4 Zoomers matchups, 4 Zoomers versus D2 Hustlers, followed by 4 Zoomers versus Black and Yellow. So we'll start the day with a couple of new faces, new squads, and then we'll kind of go back into the same teams that we saw this afternoon. So 3 best of 2s tomorrow. It'll be starting at the same time, 1 p.m. Pacific. So yeah, feel free to join us. It'll be ET and I on that cast once again. For now, though, we are done for the day. 4 best of 2s done and dusted and in the books. So we're going to be shutting things down in just a little bit. ET, closing thoughts or some words for the folks out there watching?
No, just as always, thank you for watching, especially because it did run just a little bit later, especially those of you who stayed with us all the way till the end. But make sure to tune in tomorrow. Lots of NA action, and especially always a pleasure to see 4 Zoomers play and see how they're able to kick up and advance through the leagues, especially seeing what Envy's going to be able to pull out of his ass.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much in so many words, but one other thing, yeah, you pointed out, shout out to our East Coast viewers. It is late on your side of the country. The games are now over, so go to sleep, man. Like, go to bed. What are you doing? It's way too late. It's a weekday. What are you thinking? But anyway, sorry. We are done. Thank you very much. After a long day of casting, the brain starts to wander a little bit, so forgive me for that. But yeah, we are done, but we'll be back in action tomorrow afternoon, so feel free to join us for day 2 of that group stage, as we'll be bringing you more from Pro Series 8 here on BTS. For now, though, enjoy the rest of your night, and thank you all for watching.